Hi, Misha here, and well, it was supposed to be kind of warm and sunny today. It is not, and that's kind of where we've been at. So I might have to postpone the next range trip to the cabin in a couple of weeks. But in the interim, I wanted to talk about some new products that have come in, and we will be doing full videos on this channel. And this is not one of them. This actually came in a couple of weeks ago, used. Good old West German marked P228. So one of the upcoming videos I'd like to do is really revisit the M11 trials and program and compare this original one from the 1990s to the modern M11A1. Well, yeah, I just came and thought it was cool, so we'll be doing a video, and that's kind of what this is about, just, previewing upcoming videos when the weather is better. And typically I do post upcoming video announcements only on Patreon, but I thought, let's put this one on YouTube. But normally I do give previews over there, so if you'd like to help out and get kind of an idea of what's coming up, and sometimes I will also ask Patreons, hey, which of these would you like to see or see first, or what should I do? Try to get their take. So go over to Patreon if you'd like to help support us. If not, that's cool as well. Liking, sharing, subscribing, sharing with buddies, they all help a lot. With that, let's go from something old to something fresh in and new. One of the first guns we really featured a long time ago, like 2011 on this channel, was the ATI imported Turkish MKE. Their MP5, it was the 1894 back then, but it's gone through a few different names. It went through the Zenith, and we featured those. And now it's the Century Arms AP series. And the AP5's cool, but we've had the POFs and the other MKs. But finally, they've done something that I think a lot of us are really stoked about. The AP53. And these just came out and came in, and we will be doing quite a bit with them, including talking about stock and brace options, mag compatibility, all that fun stuff. But just as a little preview, let's see what's in the box. And yeah, if I could do memes, I'd put the little clip from 7 in here. MKEs always come in pretty nice cases for their value, and the AP53 is really no exception. And they have one small but very nice improvement over the original Zenith imports. While they had a foam top, the Zeniths had a kind of fitted plastic insert a la 1980s IMI. For one, this would crack in shipping, especially with heavier guns like the Z43. For another, it allowed for zero flexibility. So the fact that there's just, foam on both ends is nice. Another benefit to the Turkish imports has always been they pack them with accessories. Of course, the gun itself, you still get a traditional manual. Presumably a warranty card, I don't know. And 2 mags. Originally, MKEs would come with 3 mags, but considering most guns only have 1, I'll take 2. They have the studs. We get the factory claw mount rail, HK style 3-point sling, good old-fashioned clamshell cleaning kit, and finally a polymer bore rope snake thing, cleaning rod essentially. So actually quite well appointed for a 2025 gun, and it's actually the cheapest one in this video. And here it is outside of the box. Got a little chamber flag, not bad. Stuck a mag in. The mags do fit tight, so doing a video on mag fitment will be interesting. Action on this one, brand new out of the box, is it's stiff. I think it needs a good oiling, but it's not rough as in like something's bent out of shape. That ringing you hear is something that actually pleases me. When these were announced, I was curious, would they just go with the kind of boring old bird cage? It's threaded, of course. Or would they go with the 4-prong? And I was so happy when I found out they were doing a 4-prong, because that is correct for an HK-53 semi-automatic type gun. And this is pretty cool. The HK-33, of course, started off in trials in 1964. Didn't really hit the market till 68. Years ago, I did a kind of half-assed T223 clone with an old Vector V93 that would have had the original 15.4, 15.3 inch barrel, permanently attached birdcage, had the old slimline handguard. But the HK-33 guns never super took off. The original 33 had that slightly under 16-inch barrel and a fixed stock. They did do the HK-33K, which had a little over a 12.5-inch barrel and an adjustable stock and was a little lighter. And I mention that because, like I said, this is a Turkish MKE who had a license to produce roller guns from HK. They did import years ago the Z43P under the Zenith brand name, and it had the 12.5 give or take barrel. Wasn't exactly an HK-33 clone, or 33K, but it was real close. Enough so. In fact, that was our first 223, and yes, back in the 60s and even into the 70s, these were still marked 223 guns. Later on, 5.56 NATO became more of a known thing in the 80s. And they sold like crap. The Z43s, for whatever reason, just didn't take off. I think people either wanted a full-size HK-33, or they wanted this here, an HK-53. And to some extent, this is a more successful gun than either of its parent designs. It took the collapsing stock. Obviously, this just has an end cap, kind of like the port firing version, frankly. But it has the short, kind of MP5 style barrel, cocking tube, and handguard. Barrel's under 8.5 inches. Add on the prong, still under 10. These appeared in the 70s and were pretty dang successful. The British used them as the L101A1. Several other police departments around the world. The HK-33 system is still kind of the lesser, but still important for the history, and was always part of the system. So it's really cool to have arguably the most successful variant, the submachine gun size and 5.56 NATO, available to us. Threaded barrel, takes standard handguards, a charging handle more like a G3, and that's what you'll see with these, is kind of a blending of G3 and MP5s. The lower is the kind of ambi navy style, smooth, no cover, but I presume one will fit. Ambi selector. It does have the fingerprint silent closure. You can also use a bullet tip. As we saw, it does come with a scope rail, 1913 rail, and it has the mounts on top. Has the diopter rear sights, sling mounts. Interestingly, I was feeling around here, I haven't really messed with this too much. Doesn't seem to have the clip on the mag well for the 3-point. But it has the paddle mag release, and it has the push pin lower, semi-automatic only. And because of the 33, it's a blend again of MP5 and HK G3 back here. It's a single pin like a MP5, but it has a recoil buffer because of the heavier caliber. And so putting a brace on this or finding the correct HK-33A2 or A3 stock is a bit of a chore. They're harder to find than either the G3 or MP5 variants, but we've done it. We'll show all three options in the upcoming video. And we'll try it out with the most common mag, the 40 round alloy, but also some either 25 or 30 steels we have. But I do kind of like these MKE poly mags. They're neat. They're interesting. I like the studs. Very, you know, very G36 or Swiss. So, yeah, they lock together actually really easy. There we go. Magwell is very tight on this, at least with these. I haven't tested it with the metal mags yet, so it could just be the polymer mags. And that's polymer mags for you. They tend to make them intentionally oversized so they'll wear in. But again, something to look forward to. And yeah, I think of the HK33 type guns, this is the one people would really want to go with. And since MKE is a licensed manufacturer, at least it was back in the day, it's as good as you get, and the price point on these is pretty good. I've seen people spend a good chunk of change to either convert an HK93 or take a parts kit on a US receiver and make a 53. I used to sell quite a few of the old Vector V53s 10 some odd years ago. This is neat. This is the first time we've had a true import, so really stoked to see how it runs. And all in all, I like MKE. I think it's a good option, not just a budget option, but a range option. And even cooler that they're pinned lowers now with the correct magazine release. Feels really good, quite light, not much over 6 pounds like this. Maybe up to 7 if you put a collapsing stock on it. Again, a little rough right out of the box as far as the charging, but I think part of that is just not having a stock on it. Makes it a little harder. Trigger is HK type trigger. But yeah, that'll be coming up, guys. I'm recording this on Valentine's Day, although it'll come out a day or two after, most likely. And another one of the gifts we received in early February of 2025 is finally the next batch of Swiss SIGs out of Newhausen. And these are supposed to be in November, but surprise, surprise to no one, they're about 3 months late. And let's begin with this one and look inside the box. All the Swiss guns come in this same case. It's fine. It's good. It's actually quite deep. I've said that before. I do like that, which gives it a lot of foam, a lot of room. But inside, we don't have just an awful lot of accessories, as you'd expect now. Belt cleaning kit, which, to be fair, in 2025, we don't always get. One 20-round mag, which I've always actually liked these. Holds exactly 1 box of ammo. Kind of neat with the shorties. And, well, there is technically paperwork in here. It's more just kind of a sales warranty card thing. No manual anymore. And, you know, I don't believe this came in plastic wrap either. It's kind of hit or miss on the imports now. Sometimes they have wrap, sometimes they don't. And one small difference, but worth pointing out, is this end cap, which just kind of cracks me up. So what SIG Switzerland is now doing for these end pieces, because they know they're pretty much just disposed of here, they're now 3D printed. Same exact pattern as what we had before with the alloy ones, which were actually quite nice. I think aluminium alloy or something else. But now they're just 3D printed. Take them off, chunk them, and swap it out. Now this gun here is technically a new variant to the US. That's one thing I do like about Switzerland. Every time they send a batch over, they do make them a little different. So even if you bought the previous batch, yours can only be one of 10 or one of 25, because these are coming in tiny numbers each time. And this is the SG551 SB, P as it happens for pistol, SWAT. Pretty much your standard SIG action, but we have a gray-green upper and we have a gray steel lower as opposed to alloy. And now we have a pick rail on top, which frankly is what all the modern contracts are for. They actually call diopter sights American sights in Switzerland because we're the only ones who still want them. They actually use the popsicle flip-up sights, which if you meet a Swiss person who's been shooting their whole lives with a 5.5 gun, they can make some really incredible shots. This front has a blade you can actually swap out for different blades. It's adjustable for windage. The rear is adjustable with a small tool for elevation. And they're not just junk sights. They're actually capable of making shots out to 300 meters in Switzerland with practice with these. So that's just kind of the modern system with the rail as integrated from the factory. Still says SIG on the rear here of the lower. All numbers matching. And we have the 14.3 so-called short barrel with the single piece integrated flash hider. It is internally threaded for blank fire device, and you can use those threads, as we saw with the old Mike Ott guns, the MM guns, to put an extension on, because well, it's under 16 inches. 2-position gas regulator on this one. I don't believe it's the 4. I think I tested this earlier. Yeah, it's just the 2. But of course we don't have diopters. We have the modern pick rail. We do have the stud on the side of the handguard if you do choose to SBR, replacing this end piece here. But if you want to rock a arm brace, we do have these adapters. These are made in Switzerland. They fit the hinge. You can fold them. They actually were originally made, I think, for the French, who wanted to roll with some Stanag M4 type stocks on their guns. So you just can screw on a buffer and put an M4 stock if you're in France. But for here, you can put an arm brace. As we saw, it comes with one of the Swiss standard stud 20-round mags. The 30s here will fit just fine though. Here you go, just obeying YouTube's rules. And you can get these mags without studs as well. And of course, the studs let you couple these guys together. They kind of snap together with more crisp than the Turkish mags. A little more locked in there, frankly. I always feel like, especially when these are brand new, I'm gonna break them, popping them out, but you won't. The polymer these are made from, even though there's no metal reinforcement, very, very sturdy. But yeah, the 551 SB SWAT, first time we've ever had a pick rail 14.3 steel lower gun come in, and not many made it in. Just thought it was worth mentioning for a minute on this video, because we're kind of always documenting each and every Swiss import. With that said, let's move back over to Germany themselves, and actually a genuine German gun. Well, sort of. And one I'm perhaps a little late to talking about, but hey, I'm kind of excited about it. Maybe Fox will win me over, because he sure does like his MR556A1. What do we think about the 556A4? I do like the cases HK uses. They're practical, maybe a little over buckly, but that's kind of part of that, yeah, we saw the Matrix 2 aesthetic. And I do like the kind of customizable Velcro interior they use, meaning you're not just stuck with one gun. You get your paperwork and a nice little flap. I would say too, if you're gonna have an SBR, I always advise you to have your paperwork with you at the range, and this would be a great place to put it. Here's our gun, of course, strapped in nice. And then our accessories here in this little pouch. And we get some extra straps. We do get the HK multi-tool. Nice to see that at least. No cleaning kit. You get your typical cheap cable lock desiccant bag. And here's something that at first I thought was cool. I just felt it in the plastic. Remember, blind, can't see. I thought they were giving you the modern HK plastic polymer mag. And then I opened it up and realized it's a mag pull. Come on, HK. Really? You make polymer mags. I understand maybe not giving the old school steel anymore, but a mag pull? Well, maybe there's one good reason. At least it's what I'm going to tell myself to sleep at night, that they included it. So, having really not gone into this with many expectations, not even necessarily planning on buying one, what are my first impressions, and what are we going to do with it in a video? So, out of the bag, yeah, the magazine kind of bums me out. But you know where all that money goes? There we go. That makes it all worthwhile. I don't know why this cracks me up, a little HK logo thing that literally fits in a rail section. It's like they wanted to make sure that in a gun shop, people knew this isn't just an AR, it's an HK AR. I'll put that, oh well. Yeah, because it is. I mean, this, and one reason I've just had a hard time really super getting excited about the whole 416 game is it's a piston AR. It's not a bad thing. I love the fact that lots of militaries have gone to it, not just special forces, Norway, France. But it's an AR with a piston system that's taken from the G36 here. Does it have a nice trigger? Heck yeah. But it still comes with a Magpul mag. That's going to take me a while to get over. At least the original ones came with HK mags, and you got HK sights. First the diopters, then later the, Troyes. But what do I think of the changes? Because I knew of the A4 coming out, but I just was like, oh yeah, huh? It's a 416A5. And everyone was talking about the cost on these. First off, I'm going to say I don't think the actual cost, unless there's a shortage of these, is going to be 4K. I think it'll be closer to 3. Could be wrong. I don't know. I grabbed this one because it was an opportunity. A friend who's a gun dealer had it in stock, and so we worked out a deal. So I did buy this gun to honestly review it. But it wasn't something I was really planning on. So first off, I was a little bit surprised that the price wasn't as obnoxious as people were talking. Now, is it high for an AR? Abso-freaking-lutely. But, guys, look what guys spend on those few MR223A3s that are in the country. 6 to 8K, even 10K, depending on, like, the FDE ones. Look what they spent on the Brownells HK416 clones that had a lot of US parts and other parts. 3K, 4K for those. Do I think the 416 platform is overpriced in general? Yes, I do. But I do think for a genuine HK, considering what everything else, the clones and copies and limited imports go for, this isn't horrible. Maybe I just had my nightmare set too high. Now, yeah, it's put together in the US at HK's US factory. Some parts are American made, but they're American made by HK. And I would like to think, I know I'm deluding myself, but one reason they went to the PMAG isn't because they cheaped out. That's actually the reason. But no, it's because they needed enough US compliance parts. So I like to tell myself that, like, oh, the whole upper is German. Again, I know it's not, but, things we lie to ourselves about. So briefly, what do I think of the changes? The lighter barrel, awesome. The slimmer, longer handguard, the new bolt to hold it on, awesome. I like having the wrench versus the hex screw. And you do get the small, HK toolkit at least. Adjustable gas system, why not? Absolutely, why not? Lack of sights, again, doesn't surprise me, but bleh. The ambi charging handle, the new ambi lower. I do like the mag release. That was one of my few complaints about my LMT Estonian, was the left side mag was a little wonky. This one's nice. No, the placement of the ambi controls. And I'll be really interested to see what Fox thinks of this, because I really like this new ambi selector. It's very MP5 style, along with this very straight up and down grip. The grip and selector very much remind me of MP5 Navy, MP5N. And I like the enlarged trigger guard. Of course, it's replaceable. I'm liking these ergos. I even like this nice new slim stock. Now, this is the non-cheek riser version. I may get a cheek rouser version just to compare. Now, it is a stiff bolt throw, but one nice thing, really nice trigger on these. One nice thing about the adjustable gas now is I'm hoping that it's a little less stumpy than the original 416 and the original MR556A1, because we can now switch gas. So that'll be interesting. And that kind of gets me to the video we're going to do with it. We're going to compare it to the Bundeswehr's G36 and a few other things, you know, give our own unique take. Not first to this, I know all the major important channels have already looked at it. Oh well, this will be our take. Just from a couple of rednecks, a couple of hillbillies in Arkansas. I had plans. If I do keep it, I think trying to turn it into a Bundeswehr G95 or G95A1 would be the way to go. It needs a little work. It needs a little help. Handguard, maybe the gas block if we want a bayonet lug, but I'm not that married to it. The good news is I actually do have the right optic for it, or at least close enough for government work. I bought it last year not really having a purpose for it, but the price was right. Now I'm glad I did. But you'll see that in that video. And the nice thing is it'll take any mags now. I didn't ever find the original A1 all that mag picky, never really ran into the issue, but I know some folks did. So aside from not having the sights and not coming with an HK mag, the gun itself, I like pretty much every improvement they made. The non-tool required takedown pins are nice. Although, I'm going to be honest, even with the original A1, you didn't actually need the buttstock tool. A 223 bullet tip would work. But it's nice not to do it. You can just pop them out and there you go. But it's still nice. Pretty excited, more than I thought I'd be, to try dish out at the range. So, this is another Swiss gun that people seem to want when they're not available. And when they come in, well, price is definitely a factor. If you thought the 223 versions were spendy and the mags were hard to find, yeah, try the 751 Sapper on for style. So, same cleaning kit and little piece of paper. And don't get excited, they don't come with two mags. I just have an extra one in here to show the studded version and the unstudded, both of the same 20 round capacity. And this is the SOCOM variant, the one most folks want, and it's very similar to what we've had in before, but there are a couple of small differences I thought it was worth spending 5-10 minutes to point out, because it's a pretty neat gun. And 3D printed end plate again, love it. For those who don't know the Cliff Notes version, this is a 308 7.62 NATO designated marksman version of the 550 family, which is otherwise in 223, 5.56 or 5.6 GP90, aside from, you know, the 7.62 by 39 and 300 blackouts we occasionally see, but I digress. What makes this a SOCOM? Mainly the fact that it comes with the pick rail from the factory and a 4-way gas regulator. So you have your standard and adverse, and then you can roll it over and you have a suppressor setting, and then you have a just fully off setting. These have the pick rail on top with the same type of flip sights as we saw earlier on the 551 SWAT. Sorry, this one's a little stiff and my hands are cold. I would say it would be nice if there was some kind of deployable thing. I guess they expect you to use just something to get it under there because, you know, it's a backup side, but a little button wouldn't be bad, but oh well. And these are calibrated for 7.62 as opposed to 5.56. SIG is very specific about that. Of course, the receiver is larger. This is a steel upper, and it's an alloy lower. They do not make a steel lower in this size. And it's honestly probably good this is alloy, otherwise this would be a beast of a gun weight-wise, because the barrel is relatively heavy. and this 551 length gas system. Note that the stock latch is actually on the lower as opposed to the handguard here. That's just, again, because of the added length. Again, our 3D printed thing back here. This does have a true 16-inch barrel. It is two-piece as well. It's threaded 5/8 by 24, and the flash hider is removable, so you can put whatever you want on. And this is one of the differences compared with the previous batch we saw of SOCOMs. Whereas the Sappers, just the standard ones with the plastic handguard, had this standard, just, you know, I think it's a Rotex 5 flash hider. It's a good flash hider. It is suppressor capable. The previous gray-green, and this is factory metal green handguards, had a Surefire muzzle brake, which, while it was loud, was very effective. And I've shot them both side by side, and while this is a better flash hider and it's not as loud, it does have more oomph to it. So it's kind of 6-1, half dozen other. And the military guns use about a 14-inch barrel, but for the U.S. market, they bumped this up to 16, so there's no SBR, NFA concerns there. Again, a relatively heavy barrel. I believe it's a 1 in 11 twist on these. By the way, I didn't mention it earlier, that 551 SWAT is a 1 in 10 twist, but don't worry. The standard Swiss loading for the 1 in 10 is 63 grain. So whatever Germanic magic they use actually stabilizes 62 grain. That's what it's meant for. I talked to Switzerland years ago, and they said really anything between 50 and 70 grain, the 1 in 10 will handle perfectly fine. So on the 223 guns, just thought I'd mention that. So yeah, another batch of these came in. They are spendy. Every time they come in, they're more, but welcome to the modern economy, guys. And unfortunately, these mags. They're good mags, but you only get one. And that's a shame. This is a limiting factor. I've not found another 308 mag that will perfectly fit and function in this gun. Maybe you can, that's cool, but it is the rock and lock style. It does feature a last round hold open there. So to do all that and fit fine, it's pretty tough order. These are not inexpensive mags. And JDI, Swiss Imports, Santa Imports does their best. That said, this gun is very reliable. It's kind of meant to cross that bridge between DMR, sniper, and a battle rifle. It's almost a modern battle rifle. So that's why it does have iron sights still, HK. Please, iron sights. Then again, this is like twice as much as the HK, so there's that. So it's meant to be used up close. That's why they do the short barrels in the military. It's meant to be suppressor friendly, but it's also meant to be able to reach out there and touch someone at, 500-600 meters more than the standard rifle. And there we have it. Kind of a Valentine's Day, or at least Valentine's weekend preview of upcoming guns. Here's one more Swiss import. If there is such a thing as kind of a standard SIG coming in right now through Santa Imports JDI, it's this, the good old PE90. This is the classic 550 20.8-inch barrel. There's also a 20.7-inch barrel that doesn't have the internal threads for a blank fire device, but this one does, so it's 20.8. Relatively thin profile, 1 in 10 twist for the standard GP90, the 6.5 cartridge, although it will stabilize 5.56, 62 grain, and 55 just fine. Swiss bayonet lug, although you can pop out the pin and put a NATO lug in if you can't find a Swiss bayonet. 2-position regulator, not 4. Good old diopter sights with the night paddle. Full-length gas, that's really what the 550 is. Folding light bipod, but you can remove if you don't want it. Just slides off when you take your handguard off. It's okay, we've talked about it in videos. Steel upper, steel lower, Swiss cross, mount points for a clamp on diopter rear with removable iris, SIG logo on the back. Ships with the original 20 round mag, original winner trigger guard, which I think is just really cool. And yes, you can adjust these triggers. Some debate with me if they're adjustable or not, and that's neither here nor there, but they do have some built-in adjustment. This is Switzerland's standard infantry rifle, has been officially since before the Gulf War in 1990, and it'll be in service for a good decade or more. Over 500,000 in service there. This is what really is as close as you can get to a STGW 90 marked PE 90. Actually took a long time to get the ATF to approve these for import, and that's the thing I'll tell you about. Everything in this video has been an import. I like domestic guns. Heck, we praised the Ruger Mini 14 recently and did a whole video on the M14 and so on and so forth. Love them. But imports go. Even if they don't go away, it seems like every time they come in for just economic reasons and, you know, shipping reasons, they're a little bit more expensive. That 751 SOCOM is a good example. The HK MR 556 series is a good example. Trust me, the price hike happened with the later A1s before the A4s even came out. And it'll probably happen with those AP53s. So with an import, you need to grab it when you can if you're interested. And this is like, if you said only one Swiss 5.5 gun, this is what most of us, myself included, would pick, this style. So I thought we'd close the video out with it. It is 80s as the day is long. And I love it. And what's great about these, even at the current prices, they're still cheaper than what the handful of pre-bands we had before we're going for. And these are brand new. Not shot out, no risk of erosion. And unlike the 80s guns, they don't have the grenade ring shaved down. They don't have the flash shutter turned down from 22 to about 20 millimeters. They have the intact bayonet lug and ring. They just don't have anything back here. But since the barrel is well over 16 inches, put on a stock. Now, I would not advise you to do this in a gun shop because, you know, these are imported for legal reasons as pistols. But you get home, stocks are out there, brand new, military with the metal inside. Not saying it's for everyone, but even if you don't buy, heck, I might not keep that MR 556A4 or the AP53 long term. I may or may not, depends on the videos go, but it's something worth respecting. All of these guns have been Germanic, be they, you know, Switzerland, Germany. I should have brought an Austrian gun out just for fun. Said we covered all the Germanic bases. But yeah, a batch of these came in, and believe it or not, they're actually the cheapest of the ones we've looked at today. I say they're cheap, cheapest, and they're the more available because JDI, SIG, and Switzerland knows, and these are every bit the same quality as the pre-ban. But what do you think? Which video are you looking forward to? Hope you are anyway. We're going to really try our best this season. Thanks to ammo donations through Phoenix and Atlantic. Again, not paid. In fact, they mostly said don't even mention them, but I can't, you know, take a gift and not say, hey, someone gave me a gift. So they did. But no strings attached gifts. We're able to get out more, shoot more, and as soon as it's nice weather, I already have plans to start putting down the holes for the posts for the range, which we're able to build because of Patreons. Thanks to everyone's Patreon donations, we've got enough to do the range targets. So we're going to start doing engravings and picking the shapes of the targets real soon. That'll be probably a March, maybe April video, depending on Arkansas weather goes. Because not going to be out there digging post holes in the rain or if it's below 20 degrees, which it's supposed to get to tonight. Yay. We're moving forward, guys. It is because of you and your support. And if you can't go over on Patreon, I get it. Patreons really do mean a lot, not just financially, but like emotionally, that support. We're only human, and the encouragement is always welcome. But liking our videos, you need to do that more, guys. The ones who are doing it, cool. Please keep on. The ones who don't, please click the like. That really boosts it and helps things. You know that deal. And, you know, watching through, commenting really helps. Heck, even call me names. I don't care. I've got a pretty thick skin. I don't mind. I'll just clap back at you. I was an original troll back in the old 4chan, and something awful days. Try me. But we're going to keep on with your support into 2025, and we'll be here with a mix of old milsurp and new guns. Some of mine, some of Fox's, some of some other friends and family. This is a independent channel, personally funded. We really don't get T&E guns. So there you go. With that, this is Misha. I'm going to catch you hopefully very soon with new range footage next time. Post-credit sequence. I had to represent Austria a little bit. Seth traded this in. It's one of his SGG 58 builds on a DS Arms. Cool guns. Love FALs. I'm sure we'll have coverage of the H&R T48 as soon as possible, as well as just some other DSA talk. Been having a lot of fun with that. Response has been pretty good. But, yeah, I just love the FAL. My first build was an SGG 58. Back then, you really couldn't get the DSA receivers. Had to go with the Kunin. Anyway, now we've covered our Germanic bases.